So I want to talk about the specifics and then go into the larger issue of the police shooting since Tuesday. Michael Slager, the former police officer in North Charleston, South Carolina, pleaded guilty to a federal charge of violating Walter Scott's civil rights. Slager is, if you saw the shooting of Scott, who was running away, unarmed man running away from a cop, and the cop shot him in the back. And there's an article here in the Intercept that Alice Sperry wrote that came out May 4th. Killer cop conviction is an exception. Don't expect justice from the Sessions DOJ. And this article, and I go into it, talks about several things. How this getting this Michael Slager to plead guilty is a victory of sorts. He's not being brought up on murder charges, even though that's what he did. He murdered an unarmed man in cold blood. But the article kind of goes in, they have to take the victories where they can get them, because a majority of the cops that are brought up are never convicted on any level. And the article also goes into, and I'll go into the details, but everyone's all mad about Jeff Sessions being appointed as, and rightfully so. He's not a good guy. But the Obama Department of Justice didn't get a lot of convictions either. And because this, unarmed people of any race, but especially black men, that was happening. It's been happening for decades, obviously, but it happened a lot under the Obama administration. And it's not going to be better with this jackass in the White House and his Klan member assholes in his cabinet. So it's something we should all be following. And there was another police shooting in in Texas. The 15-year-old Jonathan Edwards. So that has reignited the debate. We'll go into the details here of the Slager admission of guilt and what it means on a bigger picture. According to this article, Slager's admission of guilt made for an incredibly rare federal conviction of a police officer in connection with an unjustified shooting. Most officers involved in similar incidents are never charged at the local level, let alone the federal one, which comes with a higher burden of proof. In 2015, for instance, as protests demanded police accountability rocked the country and unofficial tallies put the number of people killed by police at 1,200, 18 officers faced murder or manslaughter charges, a record high. None were convicted. 1,200 people killed, 18 cops on trial, none of them convicted. It's funny, we've been in LA, they just celebrate, well, it's not a celebration, but they were talking about the 25-year anniversary of the riots in 92. They just literally happened April 28th or 29th, I forget. I think the 29th. So there was a lot of talk about it here in Los Angeles about it, and you hear people talking about the injustices. There's a couple good documentaries that are out about it, or you watch I Am Not Your Negro. I talked about that doc and all the injustices from the 90s or the 80s or the 70s or the 60s. And what has changed? I mean, I guess what's changed is it's not just black people that now we're dragging paying customers off planes. We're locking up people. We're arresting people who were protesting undrinkable water in Flint, Michigan. We're shooting water cannons at people that don't want a pipeline going through their native land. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable. Now we're just going after everybody. I mean, and anybody that's speaking up or poor, which is beginning to be a larger and larger section of the country, you don't have a lot of rights, man. We're coming after you. Anybody who speaks up against the machine, we are coming after you. It's unbelievable. So Slager, the cop from South Carolina, could now face life in prison. Scott's family hailed the plea as a victory in the fight for police accountability, but others were angry the murder charge was dropped. So, was the Slager conviction justice? And here's what Jonathan Smith, who for 5 years led the special litigation section of the DOJ Civil Rights Division. In a world where you have 1,200 people killed by police every year and 15 of them get prosecuted, yes. I guess you got to take the victory. The guy's going behind bars. It doesn't matter what it's for the rest of his life. I guess that's what counts. Yet those who welcomed Slager's conviction were immediately reminded of just how elusive that justice remains. News of the officer's plea deal was in fact quickly eclipsed by a leaked report that the DOJ would decline to pursue charges against 2 Baton Rouge officials who last July tackled Alton Sterling, who was selling CDs outside of his store. Yeah, sell CDs outside of his store, we're going to tackle you, and then shoot him in the chest when he's on the ground. Bankrupt the middle class with a bullshit bailout plan that actually helped the banks. I did the whole story on that. How Obama's plan, and Bush's, but Obama did it for longer because he was president for longer during the recession. His plan helped the banks and created more foreclosures. So none of those people are getting arrested. None of the banking people. Steve Mnuchin's got a job in the Trump administration, never prosecuted. Obama just got $400,000 from Cantor Fitzgerald. And people on the left were like, he has the right to earn what he wants. What are you fucking talking about? So none of them go to jail, but this guy selling CDs is tackled and shot in the chest and killed. Yeah. Which was also caught on camera. Right? But they didn't, and the DOJ didn't pursue charges against them. Rumors of the DOJ's imminent announcement in Sterling's case circulated for days as Baton Rouge residents braced for the worst and angry officials demanded the federal government act more transparently. The DOJ finally confirmed the decision on Wednesday. And Congressman Cedric Richmond wrote a letter to Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The Department of Justice's failure to communicate with the community has created angst and nervousness. I fear that without this transparency, concerned citizens will be left with no choice but to lose faith in your department's ability to conduct a fair, unbiased investigation. Again, Trump is just doing a more egregious, more publicly offensive version of what Obama and Bush and everyone else have been doing. Like, Obama's Department of the Justice let this shit happen. All those riots, all those shootings, those were all happening while Obama was president, man. And it's not, decades of unrest are not his fault, but he didn't come in and do any sort of sweeping changes. And then when you take the two most communities that were hurt were the most by his bailing out the banks but not helping homeowners, he helped create more foreclosures, were Black and Latino communities. So he didn't make the situation any better. He didn't come in with some sweeping jobs program. People in the inner cities are like, oh my God, after 8 years of Obama, everything's better, man. We got jobs and schools and drinkable water and great health care. They're not saying that. They're not saying that. Obama came into the White House. We were in war in 2 countries. He leaves 7. And this kind of shit. We're spending all this money bombing, drone striking everybody, and this is what's happening with the inner cities. As I've said before, I wonder if we cut the defense budget in half and took $250, $300 billion. I wonder if we would have this. I wonder if we would need guys to sell CDs and illegal cigarettes outside of stores. If they had a college education, would they need to go commit a crime? Would they need to? Probably not. This article, please read the details of this article. It goes into so much more about what's going on. And, it's one little victory, but now, as I've said, Trump is just completely unbridled, and I don't know how much, it wouldn't have been as egregious if Hillary was president, but this shit would still be going down. She'd give some big speech, never again, and I'll fight for you, but the Department of Justice would still be not intervening. They'd be not prosecuting people. Unarmed guy selling CDs, shot in the chest. It's on video. Department of Justice doesn't prosecute. The local police department doesn't prosecute. We have a huge problem in this country, and it's been going on for goddamn decades. And that's why we need a real progressive leader. I don't see the Democratic Party doing a goddamn thing about this. We need somebody to come in there who's not maybe, and I hesitate to say this because Trump is obviously not a career politician, but someone that's not worried about oh, I can't fight for that because that's political suicide. Like, that's the whole DNC's mantra. Anytime they don't want to do a tough fight, single payer health care, go after the gun lobby hard, say no to war, prosecute the banks, they always go, I'd love to, but oh boy, that's political suicide. Yeah, I don't give a fuck if it's political suicide. If I ever got to be a position where I was running for president and enough people wanted me to, and I became president, I'd be like, this is what I'm doing, and I don't care if you block me and vote me out. I don't need to be a politician. So pay attention, man. We got to keep paying attention, and we got to get a real third party in there. I just don't see every day there's more news that the DNC doesn't want to do a fucking thing other than what they've been doing, which is take checks and say, oh, we're better than the Republicans. We're not them. Resist. Goldman Sachs, check, cash. Pro-war. Woo, peace. Thanks for watching, you guys.